Welcome to the quietest corner of the internet. I am so glad you found your way here tonight. My name is Nora, and this space, this little pocket of sound and story, it exists entirely for you. Tonight, we are going somewhere very specific together. We are going to a small stone watermill in the French countryside. Burgundy, to be precise. The summer of 1948, where the river runs slow and dark green between the rushes, and the garden has gone wonderfully, beautifully wild. And two quietly tired people are learning, for the first time in a very long time, how to tend something with their hands, with no deadline, no outcome, and no one watching. That is where we are going tonight. And I think you are going to feel very at home there. But first, I want to take a moment just to acknowledge something, because I think it needs to be said out loud. You have been doing a lot, maybe for years now, if we are being honest with each other. You have been showing up, keeping track, holding things together, answering, managing, anticipating. And somewhere in the middle of all of that, somewhere between the responsibilities and the running and the never quite catching up, you may have quietly forgotten what it feels like to just stop. Not to rest so that you can go again, but to actually stop. You know the kind of stopping I mean. The kind where your shoulders come down from around your ears. The kind where you don't check anything. The kind where an hour passes and you genuinely have no idea where it went. Doesn't matter. And that feels like the greatest luxury imaginable. That is what tonight is for. And if part of you is still humming, still running quietly in the background like a machine that doesn't quite know it's been switched off, that is okay. That is completely okay. You don't need to force anything tonight. You don't need to try to relax. You just need to let me do the carrying for a while. That is my job tonight. Your only job is to breathe. So let's start there, with the breath. Take one in now. Not a dramatic one, not a deep yoga breath, just a slightly fuller breath than the last one. Let it come in through your nose. Feel your rib cage expand, just a little, and let it go, slowly, all the way out, until your lungs feel genuinely empty. Good. And again. In through the nose. Let the belly soften and rise. And out through slightly parted lips, like you are fogging a cold window, just letting it go. Now I want you to bring your attention to your body. Starting at the very top, the crown of your head. Notice if there is any tension sitting up there, any tightness across the forehead, any furrowing in the brow that you hadn't realized was there. You don't need to do anything dramatic with it. Just notice it. And then, gently, like you are setting something fragile down on a soft surface, let it go. Feel the muscles across your forehead smooth out. Feel the space between your eyebrows widen just a little. Let your jaw unclench. You might not have known you were clenching it. Most of us are by this point in the evening. Let your teeth part just slightly. Let your tongue drop away from the roof of your mouth. Feel how much tension was living in your face that you didn't even know about. Now bring your attention down to your neck, the back of your neck especially, that long, tired column that has been holding your head up all day, sometimes for a head full of very heavy thoughts. Let it soften now. Let your head feel heavy against whatever it is resting on. Your pillow, your cushion, the back of your chair. Let the weight of your head be someone else's problem for a while. The pillow has got you. You don't need to hold yourself up anymore tonight. And your shoulders. Oh, your shoulders. Let them drop. Really drop. Further than you think they need to go. Roll them back. Very gently. Just once. And then let them fall and stay fallen. Feel that release travel down your arms now, down through the elbows, which don't need to be braced against anything tonight. Down through the forearms, into the wrists, and finally, into your hands. Let your fingers curl very naturally, very slightly, like a sleeping child's hand. Not gripping, not holding, just resting. Your hands have done enough today. Let them be still. Now, bring your awareness down into your chest. Your heart has been beating steadily all day, without you asking it to, without you even noticing it most of the time. Feel it now, that quiet, faithful rhythm. It doesn't need you to manage it. It just keeps going. And feel your breath moving in and out of your lungs, the gentle rise and fall. the chest expanding and releasing. There is nothing more required of your body right now than this one simple, ancient thing: breathing. That is all. Let your awareness move down now into your belly. So many of us carry our stress here, this tight, guarded place that we armor up without realizing. Let it go soft. Let it be unguarded. There is nothing to protect against tonight. You are safe here, completely, entirely safe. Feel that word land somewhere in your body. Safe. Let it spread like warm water. And now, down through your hips, your lower back, which has probably been asking for this for hours. Let it release into whatever surface is holding you. The bed, the sofa, the floor, it doesn't matter. Whatever it is doing its job right now. It is holding you up so you don't have to hold yourself. Let your legs go heavy. Your thighs, your knees, your calves, even your feet. Uncross your ankles if they are crossed. Let your feet fall gently outward and feel the full, delicious, slightly ridiculous weight of your own body just sinking into the surface beneath you, sinking into this moment. You made it here tonight. Whatever the day was, however long it ran, however much it asked of you, you made it here. To this quiet corner, to this story. And now, for the next little while, you don't have to be anything, or do anything, or remember anything. You just have to let the story carry you. And speaking of the story, I want you to imagine that somewhere very far from wherever you are right now, there is a road, a narrow one. Pale limestone gravel, the kind that crunches softly underfoot. It winds between fields of sunflowers that have gone slightly heavy-headed in the summer heat, leaning just a little, the way you lean at the end of a long day. The sky above the road is immense. The particular shade of blue that only exists in France in July. A blue so sure of itself, it almost hums. And the road leads down a gentle slope, past an old stone wall draped in morning glory, past a row of plane trees with their dappled bark, their shadows striping the ground in long, lazy intervals, toward the sound of water, toward the sound of something old and slow and turning.
That sound, that low, rhythmic, endlessly patient sound, is a water wheel. And the wheel belongs to a mill. And the mill belongs to tonight's story. So let's go closer, very slowly. There is no hurry here. There never was.
The lane narrows as you approach the mill. The plane trees grow closer together here, their canopies meeting overhead in a loose, unplanned arch. And the light that filters through them is the color of old honey. Warm, thick, and slightly amber. The kind of light that makes everything it touches look like it belongs in a painting that someone has been working on for years. Adding small details, getting the shadows exactly right.
The sound of the river grows louder as you come around the last bend in the lane. Not a loud sound, not a rushing, urgent sound, just present, the way a river always is. It doesn't care what day it is. It doesn't know what year it is, really. It just moves, slowly here in this particular bend, where the channel narrows and the water deepens to that dark glass green color that means it is old water, patient water. Water that has been making this exact same journey for longer than anyone alive can remember. And there it is, the mill. You see the wheel first, before you see anything else. It is a large wheel, old, made of thick planks of wood that have been in the water so long they have taken on the color of the river itself, a deep, weathered gray-green. Moss grows along the upper rim where it catches the spray. Thick, bright, impossibly green moss. The kind that looks almost unreal, like something a child would draw if you asked them to draw the color green and told them not to hold back. The wheel turns, slowly. One paddle lifting out of the water, trailing silver threads. The next dropping in with the softest possible sound. A sound like a breath being let out. Over and over. Endlessly. The mill itself is built from the same limestone as the lane, the pale, warm, slightly golden stone
that this part of Burgundy seems to grow out of the ground naturally. It is a solid building, 2 stories, with walls so thick you can tell just by looking at them that the inside will be cool in summer and hold warmth beautifully in winter. The kind of walls that feel like an embrace. The kind of walls that have absorbed 2 or 3 centuries of living and kept the record of it somewhere deep in the stone. There are 2 windows on the upper floor with pale blue shutters. One of them is latched. The other, the one on the right, is not quite shut. It sits at an angle, just slightly open, the way old windows do when the wood has swelled with years and the frame has shifted just enough that you can close it, but it will never quite stay. A thin white curtain moves in the gap. In and out, in and out, breathing with the summer air.
The front of the mill faces the lane, but the real life of this place, the part that matters, happens around the back. So let's go around. Past the old iron gate that hangs slightly open on one hinge. Not broken, just relaxed. As if it gave up insisting on being properly closed sometime around 1932, and everyone agreed that was fine. Past a stack of old terracotta pots leaning against the wall. Some of them cracked, some of them still good. All of them the color of dried clay and summer afternoons. And here, behind the mill, along the south-facing wall where the sun lingers longest, is the garden. Or what was a garden once. Or what is becoming a garden again. It is hard to say exactly where it is in that process. And that is precisely what makes it so beautiful. It is roughly 20 meters long, maybe 12 wide, enclosed on 3 sides by a low stone wall that the chamomile and the wild thyme have largely claimed as their own. The 4th side is the mill wall itself, warm stone, with a nail here and there where someone once trained a climbing rose, and the rose took the suggestion enthusiastically and then went entirely its own way.
There are raised beds, old ones, built from thick oak sleepers that have gone silver gray with age. In 2 of them, something was planted recently. You can see the dark, turned soil, the color of good coffee, and a few small green shoots just beginning to assert themselves. Uncertain still, but trying. The way things do when they have been given a chance after a long time of not being given one. In the other beds, the volunteers have taken over entirely. Self-seeded lavender that has gone wonderfully leggy and unruly. A sprawling mat of creeping thyme that has spread itself across the path between beds, as if it simply decided the path was not necessary. Chamomile everywhere, the small, cheerful, apple-scented kind, growing in every crack and corner and unprompted wherever the soil is thin. Along the far wall, closest to the mill race, the grass grows tall and uncut. Wild carrot with its lacy white heads, tall stems of something that might be fennel, and right at the water's edge, leaning toward the river as if listening to it, more chamomile, in great soft drifts of it, the flowers catching the afternoon light and holding it, 100 small pale suns close to the ground. The potting bench is along the south wall, an old thing, beautifully battered. The wood has been painted at least 3 times in its life. You can see the layers at the edges where it is chipped. White on top, then green, then something that might once have been red underneath. On the bench right now, a pair of worn leather garden gloves with the left thumb repaired with a small square of darker leather, not quite matching. A trowel with a wooden handle worn smooth in exactly the right places. An old French seed catalog from 1946, its cover spotted with soil and something that might be dried chamomile tea. 2 terracotta pots with hand-painted labels in faded blue paint. One says team and one says malt. And the letters are not quite even, which makes them somehow more lovely. And a glass jar holding a bunch of just picked chamomile flowers, their stems in an inch of water, already filling the warm air around the bench with that particular scent. That scent. Let me try to describe it properly, because it deserves that. It is not a sharp scent, not a demanding one. It is the scent equivalent of a long exhale, something between green apple and warm hay, with something underneath that is almost honeyed, almost sleepy, like the scent has already decided where this afternoon is going and is simply being patient while the rest of us catch up. Stand near it long enough, and you feel something in your chest loosen. Not dramatically, not all at once, just a little. Like a knot that someone has found the right end of. Now step inside the mill. The back door is open, propped with a smooth river stone the size of a fist. As you step through the doorway, the temperature changes immediately. The stone walls have been keeping the cool air in here all day, saving it. And now it settles around you like something thoughtful. The kitchen is low-ceilinged. The ceiling beams are dark with age, hung with bundles of drying herbs, lavender, thyme, and what looks like last autumn's rosemary gone papery and fragrant. There is a wide stone fireplace along one wall. Cold now in summer, but you can see the blackened iron crane that swings over it, and the hooks and the chain, all the apparatus of winter cooking. patient and waiting. The floor is old flagstone, uneven in that particular way that means it has been walked on by generations of feet, worn into soft waves and hollows in the most walked upon places, smooth as water-worn river stone. The table in the center of the kitchen is rough-hewn oak, immensely solid, covered in a faded oilcloth in a pattern of blue cornflowers on cream that has been washed so many times the colors have gone soft and watercolor pale. On the table, a large cloth-bound encyclopedia, its spine faded from blue to something between sky and gray. A small pile of pressed flowers in various stages of being arranged, some already flat and papery between sheets of old newspaper. A stub of pencil, a notebook with a marbled cover, and 2 mismatched ceramic mugs, one glazed in a warm honey yellow, one in a deep, slightly uneven blue. Both of them the kind of mugs that have clearly been someone's favorite for a long time, which you can tell from the way the glaze has worn slightly at the rim. The window above the table faces the garden, and through it, right now, in the late afternoon light of a burgundy summer, you can see the garden in its lovely, unruly abundance. The lavender swaying very slightly in a breeze too gentle to feel indoors. The chamomile nodding. The mill wheel at the far left edge of the window frame, turning. Always turning. And you can hear the river. You can always hear the river here. It comes through the window that doesn't quite shut. It comes through the walls, almost. It is the sound this place breathes in and breathes out. The sound it has been making for 200 years. And tonight, it will carry you somewhere very gentle. It is in this kitchen, in this garden, along this riverbank, that we find Celeste. She arrived 3 weeks ago with 2 cloth bags, a pair of good boots, and the particular kind of exhaustion that doesn't come from not sleeping enough. It comes from being fully awake for too long, awake and alert and responsible and present and needed for years, without anyone asking if she was okay, without her asking herself either. She found the mill through a handwritten card on the notice board outside a Lyon boulangerie. Mill house to let, Burgundy, garden, river, summer only, inquire within. 5 words that changed the shape of her year. And it is here, right now, in this golden, chamomile-scented, river-humming afternoon, that she is on her knees in the second raised bed, pulling weeds, not quickly, not efficiently, just one at a time. Her hands in the cool, dark soil, her knees on an old folded grain sack, a small pile of pulled weeds growing slowly beside her left knee. Her face relaxed in a way she has not noticed yet, but we can see it. She doesn't look like a woman running her department. She doesn't look like a woman with a list. She looks like someone who has, very quietly, without making a ceremony of it, come home. Celeste pulls a long, pale-rooted weed from the dark soil and holds it up for a moment, examining it the way she used to examine archival documents, with a kind of quiet, unhurried attention that she had almost forgotten she possessed. The root is extraordinary, actually. Thin as thread at the very tip, branching, perfectly white against the brown of the soil still clinging to it. A whole small system, a whole small life. She sets it carefully on the pile and reaches for the next one. She has been out here for almost 2 hours now. She knows this not because she has checked anything, but because the shadow of the mill wall has moved. It was falling across the far edge of the bed when she knelt down. Now it reaches the middle. That is how she has been tracking time this summer. By shadows, by the angle of the light on the river, by how warm the stone of the south wall feels when she rests her hand against it in the morning versus the afternoon. She has not worn a watch since the second week. She left it on the windowsill of the upstairs room one morning without meaning to, and then simply never went back for it. The garden makes a particular kind of sound in the late afternoon. The bees are the loudest thing. Unhurried, devoted, moving from flower to flower in the lavender, with the absolute certainty of creatures who know exactly what they are here for. There is something almost restful about watching them. The complete absence of doubt in everything they do. They don't wonder if the lavender is good enough. They don't wonder if they are working hard enough. They simply work and rest and work again on their own terms.
From somewhere beyond the gate comes the sound of footsteps on the limestone lane. Unhurried footsteps. The particular rhythm of someone who is not going anywhere urgently. The gate opens with its familiar soft complaint of the one working hinge. And Edward comes around the corner of the mill with his shirt sleeves rolled to the elbow and a cloth bag over one shoulder. He has been to the village, the small, drowsy village a kilometer up the lane, where the boulangerie closes at noon, and the épicerie closes whenever Madame Tussaud feels the afternoon has gone on long enough. He has been twice a week since he arrived, not because they need much, but because he likes the walk. He likes having a reason to use his legs in the open air. After years of sitting at a drawing table, bent over coastlines, tracing the exact shape of places he never visited, he likes very much the feeling of actually going somewhere. Even if it is just to the village for a loaf of bread and 2 tomatoes, and whatever Madame Tussaud decides he looks like he needs.
He stops at the entrance to the garden, takes in the scene. Celeste on her knees in the bed, the slow turning wheel beyond her, the chamomile catching the light. He doesn't say anything for a moment. He just looks. The way you look at something that surprises you by being exactly right. She had dried herbs, he says, eventually, setting the bag down near the potting bench. His voice is the sort of voice that belongs in a room with low ceilings and good acoustics. Not loud, but present. Warm in a way that has nothing to do with volume. Madame Tussaud, she had a whole bunch of dried thyme hanging by the door, and she gave it to me when I bought the bread, as if that were a perfectly normal transaction. Celeste sits back on her heels and looks at him. A small smile. That is a perfectly normal transaction here, she says. Everything is an exchange of something. Edward crouches down beside the potting bench, opens the cloth bag, sets out a long baguette, still faintly warm, 2 tomatoes, a small wax paper parcel that is almost certainly the local cheese, the bunch of dried thyme, and from the very bottom of the bag, wrapped carefully in newspaper, a small packet of seeds. He holds it up. Nasturtiums, he says. She said they will grow anywhere. She said the garden looks like it could use something that doesn't need help. Celeste looks at the seed packet from across the garden, and something in her face does a thing that is very hard to describe. It is not quite a smile. It is softer than that. It is the expression of someone receiving something small and exactly right. Put them by the south wall, she says, where the stones are warmest. The 2
He does. He finds a clear patch along the base of the south wall where the chamomile has not yet reached, and he crouches there with the trowel, working the soil a little, breaking up the dry surface crust. He is not a gardener. He has never been a gardener. His hands are the hands of a man who has spent his life making precise, delicate marks on paper. But he finds, crouching here in the warm afternoon, that his hands know what to do anyway, or are willing to learn, which might be the same thing. He makes a small furrow with his finger, the way the seed packet shows on the back, just deep enough. He opens the packet carefully, and the seeds are strange and beautiful things, ridged, angular, the color of pale straw. He places them one by one, not quickly, taking a moment with each one. Not because he needs to, but because the afternoon seems to be asking for that kind of attention, and he has nowhere else to be. He covers them over, presses the soil down gently with his palm. The warmth of the stone wall at his shoulder, the river behind him, the bees and the lavender. Everything slow. Everything exactly where it should be. Celeste has moved along to the third bed now. The one that had been entirely overgrown with something that turned out, upon investigation, to be a very determined family of nettles that had apparently been in residence for several seasons and had opinions about leaving. She dealt with the main colony last week, wearing the mismatched gloves, working methodically. Today, she is doing the edges, the places where the nettles sent out advance scouts into the lavender. She works with the trowel along the border of the bed, loosening, lifting, setting aside. There is a rhythm to it, not a fast rhythm, a slow, old rhythm. The rhythm of someone who has stopped racing the clock and started moving at the pace the task actually requires.
I found something, she says. Not loudly, just into the garden air, knowing he will hear her. He comes over. She is pointing with the trowel at the far corner of the third bed, where under the last of the cleared weeds, something is growing that was not planted this season. Something old, perennial. Its leaves are low and rosette-shaped, a deep grayish green. She touches one leaf very carefully, rubs it between finger and thumb, brings her fingers to her nose. Lavender, she says. Old lavender. It has been here all along. She looks up at him. Under all of that, he crouches beside her. They both look at the small,
ancient plant for a moment, saying nothing. There is something about it that asks for a moment of quiet. This thing that survived, unattended, without anyone knowing it was there. Still alive, still trying. Still, given the chance and a little clearing around it, perfectly capable of becoming something beautiful again. We should mark it, Eduard says quietly, so we don't accidentally cover it again. Celeste nods. She goes to the potting bench and finds one of the small sticks she has been using as markers, and one of the hand-painted labels. She writes on it in her careful, slightly slanted handwriting. Lavande, toujours là. Lavender, always there. She presses it into the soil beside the plant, and they both look at it for a moment longer.
The afternoon begins, very gently, to shift. The light changes, the way light does in the French countryside in July. It does not dim exactly. It warms. It goes from honey to something deeper, something closer to amber. The shadows lengthen across the garden beds. The bees begin one by one to head home. The chamomile along the mill race glows in the low light, each small flower its own small lamp.
Celeste pulls off the mismatched gloves and sets them on the potting bench. She looks at her hands, at the soil under her fingernails, at the particular tiredness in her forearms that is not the bad kind of tiredness, not the tiredness of too many spreadsheets and too many decisions and too many small negotiations about budget allocations and archival storage temperature. This is the other kind, the good kind, the kind that lives in the muscles, the kind that comes from having actually used your body in the honest, old-fashioned way it was designed to be used. She flexes her fingers once, and there is something in the expression on her face, very private, very quiet, that looks a great deal like gratitude.
Tea, says Eduard. It is not a question. He says it the way you say something when the answer is already understood, when the next step is simply obvious and good. He goes inside. Celeste follows after a moment, pausing at the doorway to look back at the garden in the evening light, the nasturtium seeds settling into their warm corner, the old lavender in its marked bed, the chamomile still nodding along the riverbank, the wheel still turning, always turning. She takes a long, slow breath of the garden air, all chamomile and thyme and warm stone and river, and she steps inside.
In the kitchen, Edouard fills the kettle from the tap at the deep stone sink. The water comes out cold and clear and immediate. He sets the kettle on the iron stove, turns the gas low, the way you do when you are not in a hurry, when you want the kettle to take its time. Céleste goes to the shelf where she has been keeping the chamomile she picked and dried herself at the end of last week. The heads tied loosely in a small bunch and hung from a nail near the window to dry. She takes them down, crumbles a small handful of the dry flowers between her palms, over the ceramic pot on the table, the honey yellow one. The scent rises immediately. That warm, appley, sleepy scent, filling the low-ceilinged kitchen, filling the space between them, filling the silence in a way that makes the silence feel even more comfortable than it already was.
The kettle begins to make its preliminary sounds, the small ticking of the metal expanding with the heat, then the first very faint whisper of water beginning to move, beginning to think about warmth, beginning to consider what it is about to become. They wait. There is no hurry. There is no reason to fill the silence. Edouard leans against the stone sink with his arms loosely crossed, looking out the window at the garden in its evening gold. Céleste sits at the table with her hands wrapped loosely around the empty yellow mug, already warming herself on something that hasn't been poured yet.
The kettle begins, very softly, to sing. Not a rolling boil. Not yet. Just the first whisper of steam from the spout. The water just beginning to move in small, lazy circles inside the metal. Edouard watches it. He is thinking, in the way that you only think when your mind has been given enough quiet and enough time. Not about anything urgent, just noticing things. The way the steam catches the last of the light. The way the kitchen smells like chamomile and old stone, and the ghost of 100 winters' worth of wood smoke in the fireplace. The way this particular afternoon felt. In his hands, in his knees, in the small of his back from crouching over the seedbed. The way the nasturtium seeds felt between his fingers, one at a time. Each one placed with a care that surprised him. The kettle reaches its gentle peak. He lifts it, pours it over the chamomile in the ceramic pot. Slowly, a thin, steady stream. The flowers rise slightly in the hot water, releasing, diving everything they held in those small, dry heads into the water. He drapes a square of linen cloth over the pot to keep the steam in. And they wait again. The kitchen fills with the smell of the tea steeping. Warmer now. Deeper. The green apple notes softening into something almost like sleep itself. Outside, through the window that doesn't quite shut, the first breath of evening air comes in, cool against the warm kitchen. The curtain moves. The chamomile scent of the tea mingles with the chamomile scent of the garden outside. Inside and outside, becoming one continuous, unhurried thing. The river keeps its low conversation with the mill wheel. The wheel keeps its patient turning. And in this kitchen, in this particular gentle pocket of 1948, two quietly tired people are learning something. Not from a book, not from anyone who has told them, just from the afternoon itself, from the soil under their fingernails, from the seeds placed one at a time, from the old lavender that was always there, from the kettle that heated slowly, from the tea that asked for time to become itself. The lesson is not a complicated one. It never is. The simplest ones rarely are. Celeste lifts the linen cloth from the ceramic pot and pours the tea slowly into the honey yellow mug, into the deep, uneven blue one. The liquid is the color of pale gold, almost exactly the color of the late afternoon light outside, as if the garden came inside and settled quietly into the cups. She sets the blue mug in front of Edward and wraps both hands around the yellow one. And for a long moment, neither of them says anything at all. The tea is not quite cool enough to drink yet. And that is fine. That is exactly fine. There is something in the waiting, in the holding of a warm thing, in letting it come to you in its own time. That is its own small gift. Celeste breathes the steam in, lets it settle in her lungs. That chamomile scent, that sleepy, honest scent of something she grew and picked and dried with her own hands. Something that went from a living plant in the afternoon light to this warm gold liquid in a ceramic cup, through nothing more complicated than time and attention. She thinks about that for a moment. Time and attention. How long it has been since she gave those two things to anything that did not have a deadline attached.
And here is where I want to speak to you for a moment. Not to Celeste, not to the story, but to you, the one listening, the one who found your way here tonight. Because I think you might recognize something in her. Maybe you have been cataloging other people's beautiful things for so long that you forgot to tend your own. Maybe you have been drawing maps of places you never actually went. Useful, always useful, endlessly capable and present and responsible. And somewhere along the way, the part of you that knows how to just be in a garden, be in a kitchen, be in a moment with a warm cup and no agenda, that part got very quiet. Not gone, never gone, just quiet. Like the old lavender under the weeds, always there, waiting for a little clearing.
You do not have to earn your rest tonight. I want you to hear that. Really hear it. Not as a nice thing someone said, but as something true. Something your body has always known, even when your mind forgot it. You do not have to be productive to deserve stillness. You do not have to have finished everything. You do not have to have done enough. You do not have to justify this hour, this quiet, this story, this deliberate, chosen act of lying down and letting go. You are allowed to do this. You always were.
Think about what Celeste found today in that third bed, the old lavender. Under all the years of things growing over it, all the neglect, all the seasons that asked too much and gave too little, it was still there, still rooted, still capable, still given half a chance, capable of becoming something beautiful again. That is you. That is exactly you. The part of you that knows how to rest. The part of you that knows how to play. The part of you that used to lose track of time doing something with your hands that no one was grading. Still there, waiting. Patient, the way plants are patient, the way rivers are patient, the way old stone walls are patient.
You have carried enough. For such a long time now, you have carried the lists and the worries and the mental load of a dozen people. You have been the one who remembered, the one who anticipated, the one who made sure. And that is not nothing. That is not a small thing. But tonight, in this moment, you are allowed to set it down. Not forever,
just for now, just for the length of this story, just for the time it takes the tea to cool and the wheel to turn and the river to carry whatever needs carrying tonight on your behalf. Let it carry it. That is what rivers are for.
Edouard lifts his blue mug now, takes the first careful sip, and his face does something very simple and very complete. It relaxes. Not because the tea is extraordinary. It is just chamomile. Chamomile from a riverbank in Burgundy, dried on a nail by a window that doesn't shut properly, steeped in water from an old stone sink, poured into a mismatched mug that has clearly been someone's favorite for years. None of it is remarkable. All of it is exactly right. And sometimes those two things, not remarkable and exactly right, are the same thing, are in fact the best possible thing. You are allowed to want a life with more of the unremarkable in it. More slow afternoons. More things done with your hands at the pace the task actually requires. More evenings where the most pressing question is whether the tea has cooled enough to drink. That is not laziness. That is not giving up. That is not falling behind. That is wisdom. The kind that takes a certain number of years to arrive at. The kind that your younger self would not have understood, but your present self recognizes immediately, deeply, in the chest. The way you recognize a truth you have always known, but never had the right words for.
Celeste takes her first sip now too, and looks out the window at the garden in the dusk. The nasturtium seeds are in the ground. They will not do anything tonight. They will not do anything tomorrow, probably. They will just sit in the warm soil by the south wall, taking their time, deciding slowly and privately whether they are ready. And that is fine. That is completely fine. She does not need to go out and check on them. She does not need to do anything else tonight. The garden does not require her presence to continue being what it is. It has been doing this, growing and resting and growing again, for a very long time without her. Her job today, her only job, was to show up, pay attention, put the seeds in the ground, and trust.
Your only job tonight is to breathe and let the story carry you the rest of the way. You have already done the hard part. You showed up. You stayed. You let yourself be here. That took more than you think it did. For someone who has spent as long as you have being needed everywhere else, choosing to be here, just this, is an act of genuine courage and genuine kindness to yourself.
The kitchen is very warm now. Warm from the stove that heated the kettle. Warm from the stone walls giving back the heat they collected all day. Warm from the two people in it who have spent the afternoon doing something slow and honest and good. Outside the window, the sky has gone from amber to rose. And the rose is beginning very gently to deepen toward blue. The first blue of a burgundy evening. That particular shade that arrives so quietly, you never quite see it arrive. You only notice at some point that it is there, that the day has softened into something else, something gentler. Something that asks nothing of you. You are enough, exactly as you are right now. Tired and here and breathing. That is enough. You are allowed to believe that. You are allowed to carry it with you when you wake tomorrow and the day after that. You do not have to earn the right to exist quietly in the world. You always had it. You always were allowed. The chamomile along the riverbank does not justify itself. It does not produce outcomes or deliver results or account for the space it takes up in the world. It simply grows where it finds good ground and fills the air around it with something that makes everything nearby feel a little more like rest. That is enough. That is more than enough. That, in fact, is everything.
The tea is almost finished now. Both mugs nearly empty. The kitchen has gone very quiet. The particular quiet of a place that has held a good day inside its walls and is now gently letting the day go. Edward carries the mugs to the stone sink, rinses them slowly, sets them upside down on the wooden draining board. The small sound of ceramic on wood, the small sounds of water in the drain. And then, silence again.
Celeste takes the large cloth-bound encyclopedia from the table and the small pile of flowers she collected this morning from the garden and the riverbank. She spreads them out gently on the oilcloth. 3 chamomile heads, a sprig of thyme, 1 violet she found growing improbably in a crack in the stone wall near the gate. Tiny, perfect. The purple almost impossibly vivid against the pale stone it came from. She looks at them for a moment. This small, unsorted, slightly impractical collection. No purpose, no destination. No one will ever catalog these. No archive will preserve them. They are just beautiful. And she found them. And that is the whole of it. She opens the encyclopedia to somewhere in the middle, a page about river systems of the Loire Valley, as it happens, which feels right. She lays the 3 chamomile heads carefully along the gutter of the page, the sprig of thyme beside them, and the violet. She places the violet last, very carefully, in the upper corner of the page, like a small signature. Then she closes the book gently over them, pressing it closed with both palms, feeling the slight give as the flowers settle between the pages. Beginning, very slowly, the long, quiet process of becoming something preserved, something that will still be there in 10 years, 20, long after this summer is a memory, long after the mill has had other summers with other people. The violet, still perfectly purple, still the exact shade of that crack in the wall on this particular afternoon, still exactly this. Edward pulls the 2 chairs to the window that doesn't quite shut. They sit side by side, not close, but companionably, the way people sit when they have spent a whole afternoon together in comfortable quiet, and the evening feels like a natural continuation of the same thing. The garden outside is blue-gray now in the dusk. The chamomile barely visible, just pale shapes in the dimming light. The mill wheel still turning. You can hear it more clearly at this hour for some reason. The soft, rhythmic sound of water lifting and falling. Lifting and falling. Over and over. Patient as breathing. A moth appears at the window. Small, pale, drawn to the stub of candle Edward lit on the windowsill a few minutes ago, without either of them remarking on it. The moth circles the flame. Once, twice, then lands on the stone of the windowsill, just beside the candle, and stays there, wings very slightly open, resting in the warmth without touching the flame itself. The wisdom of small creatures, finding the warmth, staying close to the light without being consumed by it.
The river moves in the dark beyond the garden. You cannot see it now, but you can hear it. You could always hear it. That low, continuous, endlessly patient sound. It has been saying the same thing all day. The same thing it said yesterday. The same thing it will say tomorrow. There is no hurry. There is no hurry. There is no hurry. And now, I want to speak to you again. Very softly now. Because I think you may be close to the edge of the thing. That good, heavy, dissolving feeling at the border of sleep, where sounds start to sound a little further away, where the story starts to feel less like something you are listening to, and more like something you are gently inside of. If that is where you are, stay there. Don't come back. There is nothing here that requires you to be awake. Let your body go heavy now. Heavier than it was even at the beginning of tonight. You have been letting go for a while now, layer by layer. The way the garden let the afternoon go. The way the sky let the light go. Gently, without argument, without trying to hold on to what was always going to change. Let your thoughts do the same. If a thought comes, and one might, they do. Just let it be like the moth at the window. Let it circle once, twice, and then let it find its own place to rest. You don't need to follow it. You don't need to resolve it tonight. It will still be there if it matters. And if it doesn't, the river will carry it. The candle on the windowsill burns very low now, the flame barely moving, a small, steady, faithful thing. The moth still resting beside it, the wheel still turning in the dark water, the chamomile seeds settling into the cool night soil, the nasturtiums in their warm corner by the south wall, the old lavender in its marked bed. Toujours là. Always there. Always there. You are always there, too, underneath whatever has been growing over you, underneath the years and the roles and the responsibilities and the proving yourself. Underneath all of that, something rooted, something patient, something that knows how to rest and is very glad to be resting right now. Breathe in the chamomile, the river air, the old stone, the candle. Breathe out everything else, all of it, just out. The mill wheel turns. The river moves. Somewhere in the village up the lane, a dog barks once and goes quiet. The stars are coming out above Burgundy, one at a time, the way good things often arrive, one at a time, without announcement. Celeste and Dou sit at the window, not talking now, just there in the blue dark, with the candle between them and the river beyond, and the garden resting in its beds below. Everything they did today still in the ground. The seeds, the cleared beds, the marked lavender, all of it quietly doing what it needs to do in the dark. Growing, settling, becoming, without any help from anyone. And you can do the same now. Just settle. Let your body do what it knows how to do in the dark. It is very good at this. It has been doing this your whole life. Every night, whether you let it or not. Tonight, let it. The wheel turning, the water moving, your breath in and out. Slower now. Longer. The spaces between thoughts getting wider, like the spaces between stars. The candle goes out very gently, a thin thread of smoke rising and gone. The moth still there, resting in the dark now, wings barely open, perfectly still.
The river knows your name tonight. It says, rest, rest, rest. The wheel agrees. You carried so much for so long. You can put it down now, right here, in this good, quiet, dark. Sleep is coming for you, kindly, the way good things come, without rushing, without asking anything, just arriving. Let the next story find you here. You don't need to touch anything. Just let the playlist carry you, like the river carries everything downstream into the soft dark. The mill and the garden and the river and the stars above Burgundy will be here whenever you need them. Always. Toujours là. Always there.
Good night. Sleep well. You have earned this.